George Washington Birthplace National Monument has been around since about 1930s, and the purpose of the monument is to preserve the cultural landscape that existed when George Washington was born here. My name is Casey Trout. I am a 2018 Future Park Leaders of Emerging Change program intern at George Washington Birthplace National Monument. So the park has a lot of cultural resources. In addition to the resources from George Washington's time and colonial times, they also have a lot of Native American artifacts and other paleontological resources as well.
I do love the cultural resources at this park. They're just everywhere you turn. The storms that are around here have increased greatly since I've started work here 8 years ago. They're of a much more intense nature and they are much more frequent. And they are taking down trees, they're doing damage to our buildings, and they are taking away up to, in some places, a foot a year of shoreline. We've lost at least significant parts of 2 major sites. One is Native American and one is early European. The loss of that material, it's irretrievable. You can't get it back. There's nothing we can do about it. So how do we be proactive about that?
With my project at the park, I've really focused on how the shoreline will be changing with climate change effects such as sea level rise, potentially increased intensity of storms, cyclones along the Atlantic, and how those will affect up the Potomac. And so I've just been focusing a lot on how that's going to change in the future and what that means for park resources. Not only facilities, but also cultural resources that could be endangered of completely washing away due to shoreline erosion.
These things really hit home to us, and Casey being here was able to really look at the range of possibilities and help inform us as to what we might be having to face so that we have a leg up on making really positive plans for the future.
I also did GPS shoreline collection of the Pope's Creek shoreline, since that has not been done before, just so that there's that baseline. So if in 5 years or 10 years, 20 years, somebody wants to come and do the same thing and actually see and quantify how the shoreline has changed in that time, that data will be available for them.
And so we were really able to work very closely with Casey and explain what our concerns were and have her look at the data and help us make sense of what was in front of us.
This is really about making connections and building relationships. And I think that what has been most impactful for staff at my park, because they're so busy and they don't necessarily have the time to always be thinking about my project and what I'm doing, is just the conversations that we've had about climate change and about potential effects on the park.
We're developing as people, but we're also hopefully developing the future leaders of the National Park Service.